Are your minds stretching on what you want? Here's something to really keep in mind. Top of page 5, it says, when choosing a goal, you would be wise to remember that you're trading your life for that goal. Remember the first time Bob said that, I thought, wow, you're literally trading your life for whatever goal you pick. Is it worthy of you? Not are you worthy of it. Is it worthy of you that you're going to spend your life on this goal? Now, the house and the story I told you there, that was incredibly powerful. And I wanted to do that because I wanted to see that I could get myself to stretch so huge. I remember one time my dad said to me, is it really that important to get a house? You know, when I was trying to tell him the importance of this. And it wasn't the house. It's who I had to become in the process of getting the house. But the goal I really fell in love with for the first time when I really started stretching was thinking into results and creating this program with Bob. There wasn't a name for it in the seminar. I just wanted to create a program with Bob to bring into the boardrooms and executive offices. And I came up with a name shortly after that, Thinking into Results. And I kept thinking about what Bob said. Is this worth trading your life for? Trading your life for. And when I let my imagination take off and just see the impact it could have, you know, in my mind, it was just like these waves of impact. And the program, and it would impact people in the boardroom, and it would impact people in the executive offices, but then it would impact their family and their community and ultimately the world. And part of me was thinking, well, wow, that's really getting big in your thinking. That seems kind of crazy. But the other part of me was like, no, this could have a huge impact. And I started to visualize people coming up to me and telling me what impact this had on them and their family and their company and their community. And I visualized getting emails of people telling me this. And I was studying Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, and he was talking about ideas. And he said, at first you need to nurse them and entice them and feed them to remain alive. But then they become a giant of their own, and they feed and nurse and entice you. See, you have to fall so much in love with the idea and what you can do with this idea that it literally becomes a giant and feeds and nurses and entices you. And when you latch on to a goal like that, it's so incredibly powerful. And then when it starts to happen in your physical world, you start to go, wow, I do have this power inside of me. Troward, I was studying Touching Lightly. How many of you have studied the lesson Touching Lightly by Troward? I mean, it's pretty hard reading when you get into it. But there's this point that I keep repeating over and over and over again. And he said that within you, your power is the mind. And he said, it's the core of everything. And it's the universal mind that is within you. And he says, you've got to stand firm within you with the power right within you. And he says, don't rely on something outside of you, something external. And when I read that, I kind of picture myself like, you lean up against this. This is my point of support. And then it breaks and you have no power. You've given up your power. But if you recognize the power within you and how you are working with the universal mind, you're working with the laws, you're working in harmony with it. There is an energy that is flowing to and through you all the time. Bob talked right at the beginning about what we're doing with goal creation is we are moving and changing energy. Now, when he first said that, I had no clue what he was talking about. But we are moving, we're shaping energy. It's undifferentiated as it's going to and through us. And it's our goal that is going to shape it for us. We take that, we manipulate it, we move it, and that creates the results in our life. So what is the goal? That's how you're differentiating this unlimited power and energy. Is it worth trading your life for? When you think about your goal and you think about you've already achieved your goal, what are the results that it's created? See, when I fell in love with that idea of thinking into results and just seeing the impact it could have on people, that just set something on fire within me. And I just kept falling more and more in love with the idea. we ended up forming a company just for purposes of creating the program. And I came up with an affirmation. I'm so happy and grateful now that we're making millions in Life Success Corporate. That was the name of the company we formed. As we help executives, entrepreneurs, and employees worldwide connect to their higher side and lead more productive, fulfilling, and enriching lives. Now, for me, that was just a beautiful feeling inside. And I would say it over and over, and I'd really connect with it. What is your affirmation? What is your goal? And like we just said and we just read, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks you should be doing. It doesn't even matter if you think you have the experience and the talent and ability to do it. If you fall in love with it, you have it. You have what it takes right here, right now. So you're trading your life for it. What is it you're trading your life for? You know that your life is not a practice run. This is it. Beautiful cars, houses, vacations, probably on everybody's shopping list. But I have not met any person who would trade their life for any one of those things. You have infinite potential. There's no one alive who can accurately guess at what you're capable of accomplishing, regardless of the conditions or circumstances that may be presently affecting your life. I suggest you mentally set aside any feeling of lack or limitation and attempt to follow the instructions that I'm about to share with you. There's a real possibility that by doing this, your life will never be the same again. But only you can latch on to that big goal that's going to make all this changes in your life. Do you guys have a big goal? Do you think you've latched on to your big goal? Yeah? Do you want to share what it is? You don't have to, because remember, I slammed the book shut and wouldn't let anybody see my goal.
My goal was to be an animator.
An animator?
To animate cartoons.
Mm-hmm. Is that still your goal?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah? And what? Tell me something specific about it. You want to animate cartoons.
I want to be in charge of animating and creating, having like being in control of the entire creation process.
Oh. Yeah.
Do I need to speak louder?
Speak up.
Okay. My goal was to have control over an entire creation process over a cartoon that everyone would be able to enjoy watching and would choose to spend time with and watching this. And because of that, I want to be able to put a lot of ethical, moral, or just lessons within it.
Are you involved in that now?
I've made a plan. I've been looking for animation colleges, schools. I've joined a imaginative writing class and a drawing class in order to help further the process into getting to
Have you put a date on it?
Yes, actually.
When's the date?
October 23rd, 2023.
2023? So how many years is that?
3, I believe.
No.
4
years.
4 years.
Why do you need 4 years?
3 for education in college, and the next one to actually get into the company.
Mm-hmm. You might want to shorten that time span.
All right.
Seriously, make it more like now. You got to get into it now. Think of something that you could do now that would get you involved in that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, how do you feel when you see this is already happening in your life? How does that make you feel?
Accomplished?
Mm-hmm. Do you feel a big switch? Are you in love with it?
Yes. Although I would like to be writing books on the side.
You want to write books on the side?
Yeah.
Okay. So keep expanding that. All right?
Okay.
Who else feels like you've latched on to your seagull? What?
Sandy, this next part is covering what you're looking at there. Hill said the imagination is literally the workshop wherein are fashioned all plans created by us. So you put your imagination to work. You create that position now. Live it now. Don't make it in the future. It's always present tense. Whenever you're dealing with your goal, you're dealing with present tense, not the future. There isn't any future. That's an illusion. You're always dealing in now. Now that may sound totally out of the box. That's still right. He said the imagination is the most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivably powerful force the world has ever known. And we've got it to go to work for us. We're the only form of life we know that has an imagination. See, all the other little creatures I often mention are completely at home in their environment. They blend in. We're not at home in our environment. We're totally disoriented in our environment. And that's because we have been given the creative faculties to create our own environment. If we're just going to go along with everything that's always been, that's where we're going to stay. We've got to create something new. We've got to go where no one's ever been. That's what we're designed to do. Just think of some of your early history classes as little kids in school. And then look at the world you live in today. You don't even have to go back. Just look at the last 10 years. Stop and think of what this little thing is. We call it a phone. I think the phone's the smallest part of it. Think of what this will do. I can take your picture here, hit send, and it'll be on someone else's computer on the other side of the world simultaneously with me hitting it. How'd that happen? That's always been able to happen. We just weren't aware of how to do it. Well, you know, it's people that use their imagination that really get locked into this that make those things happen. Sandy made a program like that. And she brought it and showed it to us. There's probably 1 million people that have changed their lives with that program.
You know, I just had a flashback of that seminar, that first seminar with Bob, and he's talking there, and he's talking about how you get what you want, and he said you want to use your imagination and really tap into your imagination. And he said you want to start with fantasy, like just fantasize and build this big, beautiful picture. And then you just impress it upon your subconscious mind, and you get emotionally involved with it, and you have it. And then I'm sitting inside my head, and I'm saying, how am I going to explain this to my dad and my law colleagues? It's like, okay, Dad, he did say that he didn't make it through high school, but he has really good results in his life, and he's saying just fantasize, just build this picture. And at first, I almost missed it because we're so programmed to believe it's the degrees you get, it's the education you get, you know, it's the mechanics, getting into the mechanics of it that's going to get you what you want, and it can stop you in your tracks. But I'm like, I'm looking at him. He's known all over the world. He's helped so many people achieve things in their life, become people that they always wanted to be, and bring great joy to others in their life. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to listen to what he tells me to do, and I'm going to do it unless I find out he doesn't know what he's talking about. And he knows what he's talking about. In fact, I remember being on I think we were on a flight to Argentina, and we were going to do a seminar. And I'm asking Bob this question, and he's answering, boom, boom, boom. And I remember thinking at that point, there's no bottom to his knowledge. Like, you guys, you're just producing amazing results in your life. And it just doesn't blow your mind, but it's because he studies every single day. I've seen him prepare for presentations that he's given thousands of times, and it's like it's a brand new presentation because in his mind it is. But so I decided I'm going to do what he says, and he says really tap into the imagination. Do you think you really understand what imagination is, what your imagination is, what you can do with your imagination? Because when I first started working with this, I didn't get it to the level I have it now, and I know I don't have it now at the level that I'm going to get it. But it's Napoleon Hill, marvelous, miraculous, inconceivably powerful force the world has ever known. And you start letting your imagination go and go, and you tell that paradigm just to get the heck out of the way and let you come up with what you really want.
You know, I'll frequently go to the restaurant in a hotel by myself, and I have a pen, and I have piece of paper that I always carry. And I'll sit and fantasize. I'll sit there by myself, enjoying every minute, fantasizing. Now, I used to fantasize before I understood any of this material. And of course, the fantasy died. I did it because I enjoyed it. I didn't tell anybody I was doing it because I thought they'd think I was crazy. They already knew I was, I think. But not many people fantasize. And yet that's how everything happens. We are too practical. We're too logical. We're too locked in to slide rules and computers and stuff like that. We've got to get in here. Take the lid off. God created us that way. I was thinking while Sandy was talking there for a moment, I had a friend who's gone now, God bless him, Grant Sylvester. Grant Sylvester heard me speak at a life managers meeting in Niagara Falls. And after the meeting, there was a crowd of people around. They wanted to ask questions or pictures or something. And he came over and he said he would like to get together with me. Well, I said, I'm really busy here. He said, if you got a card. He didn't have a card. He went all the way back to another hotel to get his business card, and he came back. There was still a crowd of people working there with me, and he gave me his card. Here was the head of a sales organization of a large insurance company, and he wanted to talk to me. So anyway, I called him, and we got together, and he said that he had been raised by a young priest, Father Per Murray, who runs the Shack College, Notre Dame, out in Saskatchewan in Canada. There would be at least 10 to, well, more than that, there'd be at least 15 players in the National Hockey League today that come from that Shack College. They built an Olympic-sized rink in there. And they train people who go to school there, prepare themselves to play in the NHL. A lot of the top players come from there. But he said, when I heard you speak, you're the first guy that ever talked the way Father Murray talked. And Father Murray had these wild ideas, you see. And he said he'd just taken over the sales of this organization. Yet he said, I've got a goal of raising the sales in the company by 50%. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. I said, you're probably on the right track then. Well, he said, do you think I can do it? I said, well, do you think you can do it? He said, I do. And I said, then you can do it. Well, he said, could we get together? And I said, sure. So he said, what should I do? And I said, well, you got to get all the top players on board with you. So I said, you put them together, and I'll put on a 3-day seminar for you. So he had all the top executives in the company together, and I went in and did a 3-day program for them. First day, I'd been there for maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. This guy sitting near the front, he was not tuned in at all. I mean, I think he thought I had just fallen out of a tree. And he wasn't paying attention. I could feel it. So at the first break, I went over and I said, you and I aren't communicating very well, are we? And he smiled and looked at me. He said, well, no, I guess we're not. He said, can I be candid? And I said, well, probably be a good idea. We're only on a coffee break. Well, he said, I can't understand how anyone who makes so many grammatical errors could teach me anything. Oh, well, I said, hell, I can help you there. I said, I didn't go to school. No, I said, what do you really want? What's your goal? He says, my goal is to get a parking space under the building. I had to look at him. I wasn't sure if he was putting me on or not. You see, their building is on St. Clair Avenue in Toronto. That's right in the heart of the city. There's a space behind the building to park cars. But you park a car there in the winter and you come out, you got to chip a lot of ice off that car before you can see through the windshield. And the car may not even start. Under the building, of course, everything's warm. So I could understand why you would want to parking space under the building. And I said, that's your goal? He said, yeah. And I said, you're not listening to me and you're setting a goal like that? I said, I could show you how to buy the whole damn building. Now, why don't you get your ego out of the way and sit down and shut up? Listen. He was candid with me, I was with him. And we communicated. He became the president of another company. He opened his mind. See, our problem is we're hooked on silly limitations. You don't have any limitations. You want to create some? Go ahead. But whatever you're doing, I don't care what you're doing, whatever you're doing, if you just go back 5 or 10 years, they were doing it totally different than you're doing it today. How did you make the breakthrough? God, it wasn't that long ago in my mind when the facts first come out. It absolutely fascinated me. I could stick a piece of paper in it, it could come out on the other side of the world. Really? Well, of course, it's so old-fashioned now, we hardly ever use them anymore. Think of how your world's changed. Just think of how it's changed. Have you changed at the same speed? Probably the answer is no. Well, fantasize. Just let your mind take off. You know, it seems strange. We have to work at getting people to do that. Do you know why? They're tight. They're tight as a drum. I didn't have any trouble building an image. I could see myself dealing with people all over the world. Literally. Do you know, today at 11:30, I did a call with one of our people. She had sent me a Zoom link. And my computer, for whatever reason, I couldn't go online. I was online, but I would hit the thing that would take me. It wouldn't go there. So I couldn't get into my mail to get the link. Yet it was time for me to be on. So I sent her a text. And she said, I'll send you a link, get on your phone. I'd never done this on my phone. So I said, okay. So I got the link but I didn't have Zoom on my phone. So meanwhile, she's talking to somebody, sending me a message, and I got a link. I downloaded the thing. This all happened in a 2 or 3 minute period. And then bang, I'm sitting on the phone talking to these people all over the world. This is 2019. It's almost 2020. I was born in 1934. Now, I know when you hear that, you're probably wondering you're still alive. Now, listen. The changes that I've seen in my lifetime boggle the mind. But I do know, if you will put your imagination to work, yet you stay with us here for 2 or 3 days, you'll walk out the door a totally different person. And when you go home, they're going to wonder, what the hell happened to you? They won't recognize you. I mentioned Keith and Wendy Detta. I remember, and I'll take the liberty of telling you this, he had to come up with $1 million in 90 days over and above everything else that he was doing. Now that's a fair amount of change in 90 days. And he had all kinds of other obligations. But you see, he had played around with this information enough. He says, I know I can, I just don't know how. And 90 days later, he had the $1 million. I phoned Peggy one day down in Ottawa. And she said, Denny and I were thinking of buying a house, but it was $1 million more than we wanted to pay. And I said, make the $1 million look small. She says, what? I said, make it look small. Well, geez, within a couple of hours, I had a book cover on my email, make $1 million look small. It was a good-looking book cover, too. She turned the idea into a book in her mind. Then a couple hours later, she said, why don't you and I marry Morrissey, and we'll get Gay Hendricks. Yeah, the 4 of us will put on a seminar, make $1 million look small. And we made $1 million one weekend. Helping other people make $1 million look small. and changed some lives in that program. You don't know what you're capable of doing. You haven't got the foggiest idea what you're capable of doing. None of us have. The beautiful truth is, we've been given an imagination. It's the most marvelous tool we've got. Do you know nothing is created or destroyed? Do you know what your imagination will do? It'll take you to places that no one's ever been. That's right. It will take you to places that no one's ever been. If nothing's created or destroyed, everything's already here. Go read the Bible, New Testament, the Old Testament. Get into the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, the Torah. Get into any of them. They're all telling us the same thing. We are the highest form of creation on the planet, and we wander around like nomads. I don't know if I can do that. See, it's not a matter of can we, do we want to? But you know something? We let our present position dictate what we want. If we don't have the finance, we'll say, well, I don't want that. That's a lie. You do want it, you just don't have the money. That's why I told Sandy, I said, never look at the price tag on something. Never, until you decide you're going to get it. I tell a story in Bourne Ranch about John and Pat Swanton. They wanted to buy a house, and they were very upset. They were upset because they didn't know what they wanted. And I said, what do you really want? Well, they wanted to buy a house, and I said, well, go buy one. They said, we can't buy a house, we don't have any money. I said, you don't need any money. They said, what do you mean we don't need any money? I said, you haven't made a decision to buy the house. What the hell do you need the money for? See, until you make the decision to buy the house, you don't need the money. And they looked at me. I don't think they really understood me at first. I phoned Natalie Kopman, who worked around the corner from where we were. She worked for Harvey Keller's Real Estate, and I said, Natalie, I got a couple of live ones here. They want to buy a house, and I'm good. Money, come on over and see them. Well, Natalie had been through the program. She had studied my stuff for quite a while. So she sat down and she said, totally relax. You got a picture of the kind of house you'd like to live in. Tell me what it looks like. Do you know, within 2 months, they were living in number 7 Bard's Walkway. They sold the house. Sometime later, picked up a $50,000 profit. Brian, my son, who opened up here today, he bought that house. Not from them, but he bought it from somebody else. He lived in it for a while and sold it for a nice profit. It's not what can you afford, it's what you want. It's not what you know how to do, it's what you want. You don't let the fact you don't know how to do it stop you. You don't let the fact that you haven't got any money stop you. Now, I know the people that you're living with or the people you're around, they will think you're a little cuckoo. But so what? They thought Ed Hillary was. They thought the Wright brothers was. They thought Henry Ford was. They thought Edison was. Study anyone that has done anything of any consequence. What did Jesus say? Forgive them, they don't know what they're doing. Just forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. Well, you got to form that attitude. Just forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. What do you care if they think you can't do it? What do you resent me. I could care less what you think I can do. And I don't care what you think of me either. Now, I hope you like me, and you probably should. I'm a nice guy. But if you don't, that's your problem, not mine. Too many people go through life wanting everybody to like them. Not everybody's going to like you. Some of them aren't going to like you, but that's their problem, it's not yours. See, what's important is that you like you. And you start to understand you, and you're going to like you. Our problem is we don't understand ourselves. That's all part of the goals lesson. You see, why is goal an art? Well, goal's an art because we have the ability to shift the energy. We can change it. There's 6 phases to goal creation. When we say right here on the first page, this came to me, and it came to me, I just loved it. Goals are where you are able to express your unique gift of creation. You're a creative being. You'll find people say, but I'm not creative. Everybody's creative. You're created in God's image. Therefore, you're creative. You have the ability to create. There's 6 phases to this goal creation that we're going to go through. And I'm going to tell you something. As you start to put them together, you start to get the dots to connect, you're going to absolutely love it. If Phil Goldfine can go from earning next to nothing to earning millions, literally millions of dollars, to earning an Oscar, an Emmy, and a Tony, and understand this, there has been 3,072 people won an Oscar. There has only been 26 people that won an Oscar, an Emmy, and a Tony. Phil was number 27. That's an extraordinary accomplishment. Why? Well, Oscars are for movies, Emmys are for TV, Tonys are for Broadway. Different, totally different things. But that's what he wanted. So that's what he got. You got to see it the way you want it. He phoned me here a couple of weeks ago. And he said, I'm going to get another Oscar for Claire. I said, oh, that's good. I like that. Yeah. Yet he sent me a picture of himself holding his Oscar. And I said, Phil, that's what you've already got. I'll tell you what to do. Get your picture taken with holding it in one hand, then get a picture taken holding it in the other hand, then take somebody to Photoshop and get them to Photoshop it, and then have you got one in both hands. Then I said, stare at that picture. When you plant that picture in your universal mind, it's planted in the earth, and it must grow. It must. That's what Carnegie said. Any idea that's held in the mind, any idea, doesn't matter what it is, any idea that's held in the mind, that's emphasized, that's either feared or revered, will begin at once to clothe itself in the most convenient and appropriate form available. It must move into form. Ask any farmer, they will tell you. You plant it in the earth. The energy's in the earth to cause the seed to express itself. There's a pattern plan in the seed. And that pattern plan dictates the vibratory rate of that seed. And the vibratory rate of that seed is going to dictate what it attracts to it. When you build the idea in your mind, that's the seed. And it will control the vibration you're in. And you will attract whatever you require for the manifestation of that seed. He said, any idea that's held in the mind that's emphasized, that's either feared or revered. Remember the great sufferer in the Bible, Job? He says, lo, the thing I fear has come to visit upon me. Well, I guess. Yes, that's what you focus on, baby. That's what you're going to get. Wake up. You see? That's either feared or revered, will begin at once to clothe itself in the most convenient and appropriate form available. Now, what's important is important. You decide what you really want. I hope you enjoyed this video. We put a lot of good information up here, and it causes everything in your life to get better. If you'd like us to notify you every time we put a new video up, hit subscribe and then turn on notifications. Check out all our videos, and we will notify you when we put a new one up.